Good morning. Mind you, two comedians, I think one of them passed on. Well, he did, actually. And one of their little catchphrases was, "It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him." And it's a bit comical this morning. Sorry about that. But well, I've been inspired, impressed to pray for myself, and particularly for healing. I've had a few problems with this left leg, and on one occasion, fairly recently, I had to be hospitalised because I got the doctors to visit me in my home, because if you have to wait up to 3 weeks for an appointment to see a doctor now, and but you can get that, if it's like an emergency, you need to see a doctor a bit sooner than that, and they come to your home as well in case part of your condition means you can't really travel that well. Anyway, she got her tape measure out, and my leg had swollen up literally like a balloon, and her prognosis was that I've possibly got a blood clot. Ooh, horror, freak, panic. So an ambulance was called, because I couldn't really get the bus and whatever. And I was taken into hospital, put on a drip, because I've been on antibiotics orally, and eventually they just stopped working. But like I say, if this is a blood clot, it's sort of alarm bells. So I had various other tests were going on. Blood samples are being taken and analysed. Being diabetic, I had to have my sugar level, but the food was very good, obviously, and geared towards someone with diabetes, a very low sugar diet. And yeah, great improvements, and the swelling did go down. Well, it's back. Not as bad, but it's there. So I got up a little bit earlier, probably about half an hour before this, and got my pendulum out, and called in St. Michael, which you do for protection, invited your guides and helpers to draw close, but I got a clear no response. And the question was, well, do I need to see a doctor? But prior to me doing that, got a strong, like I say, impression to pray for myself. And there's a lot of reflection, how one felt about that, and resistance. But no, we've got to start with ourselves if we do have a health issue, and in a very practical, realistic way. Hi, good morning, Swami. And so here goes. I'm going to start again with prayer, but we'll be incorporating a very personal aspect to it, because my own health regarding my leg. So I apologise for that before I start. Blessed Father God, thank you for all the blessings that I have and have received in my life. I have a health issue that's been rather ongoing with my left leg. It's not possibly a blood clot, but it could be slightly a blood clot. I'm taking my pyramid water. I'm taking colloidal silver, which will help if it is neutralize any infection, but I don't think this is it. So I ask, Blessed Father God, that my leg be restored to perfect health. I ask and I offer up this water, which already has immense medicinal properties, but I ask that this water be blessed and that it be transformed into the medicinal compound that I particularly need at this moment to help restore my body, to help my body to restore itself to perfect health. I ask this in blessed Lord Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen. So be it. Yes, blessing is part of our function, a needed function, if we're to try and help the planetary situation, the whole situation, whether it's people, the planet, whatever, is that we can bless those that persecute you. So we have plenty of lessons within the scriptures regarding blessing, turning the other cheek. Again, a very allegorical lesson that are aimed for response, because we're not often able to sincerely do that, but is to realize that that is the way through and forward such a situation. And that if people are persecuting you, hassling you, whatever, smile. Music's coming. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Smile and know that they love you. Which I think some teach your children well, but a lot of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young lyrics have immense spiritual depth and insight to them. And I was brought up on this sort of music. Obviously, this is the sort of music of my era. Although I think some of them are still alive and still producing music. But Neil Young, some of his stuff, I've gone on this tag now, so whatever. Well, talks about the knights in armour all around the chosen one, all in a dream. Well, I think I saw the knights in armour. Might have got this wrong, because all around the chosen one, all in a dream. Very high voice. Oh dear, I could be on here for quite a while if I was to go into that tack of quoting and remembering various spiritual lessons. There's a world you're living in. No one else has your part. All God's children in the wind. Take it in and blow it out. Neil Young. And no backups. Amazing, isn't it? Oh, I can't overpraise the technology in Apple computers. Now, I remember when I used to use, that's going back. I used to do a Kabbalah class a while back, and I've just had a little flash, but that's on the other. That's an example I have 2 Facebook pages, and that's from the previous page. I had an email address which I used all the time to sign up for things, and it got terminated. It was orange, it packed up. But more importantly, the password as well. I've looked through all my little books. I've got a black book now, religiously write down any password changes I do. This is so much now. And it's good that there is some kind of security, and it's good you change your passwords frequently and all the rest of it. But do have a bit of trouble in that area. And sometimes your mind does, it just freezes, probably because you're getting in a slight panic. What's the password? And then zut, it's gone. And get that with people's names as well. But I can get around that one. Google password required. Well, not now, but anyway. So, prayer pyramids, planetary healing. Try and stay a bit focused. I am still looking for Bosnian pyramid water, but was strongly impressed again, not so much to create my own, but that if I was, which I've just done for myself, take water and sincerely bless it, that it will probably not be as effective as the pyramid water, which is what my mind's telling me. Oh yeah, it's been under the pyramid for 30,000 years. So it's the mind really hooking into the scientific approach, which is true. But if for some reason it's being blocked for me to be able to get hold of a sample, and that's just the way it is at the moment, apart from one could conjecture that I've actually got to go to Bosnia. But then I get out of that, maybe I am being, what's the word, where you're flippantly jumping from indecisive, it's not the word I'm looking for, but anyway, that is part of my karmic healing journey, that I have got to actually go and visit the Bosnian pyramids, touch in and take that energy, pick up some water, although there might be restrictions. Obviously I'd look into that, and do that as highly marked on the agenda, or even to the effect of selling some possessions that I already have, to cut back, but to put it into a very good cause. So now I've said that, it might be, like I say, when I feel it's right, and when my leg improves, because it's got a bit, to use a negative adjective, worse, I've said in my mind, which is true and wise, and that I should wait until my pension, the word to describe it, is sorted. It's being reviewed. And I could be for a pleasant surprise and get a rise, because my health physically has deteriorated from when I originally started to get what's called disability living allowance. It's now being changed to a different allowance, and you have to fill in quite an elaborate form, give you names of your doctors, give you information on the medicine you're taking, blah, 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 blah. But it could eventuate from me having to go into a tribunal. This is what happened with disability living allowance. quite a few years back now, but even so, you had to go through the trauma, the hassle, whatever, of actually going to a court and to be independently assessed because you contested, or I did. I wasn't awarded it at first. And Bittersworth, I took 2.5 years though, because I went to one tribunal and again, then went to another one. It took ages because, well, the demand people, many people were contesting their disability living allowance or non-awarding of their because of psychological disorders, which from a person's outward appearance is not like just saying how far, physical thing, how far can you walk down the road, and these sort of silly questions, because at times you can't walk any distance down the road. If you're in a state of anxiety, twinging on psychosis, you'll know the good no God the man, and you're very disabled. The World Health Organization supports this. They've done an extensive survey, and they put right at the top of the most disabling conditions out of all the conditions you have, obviously certain psychological disorders, psychotic conditions, for instance. And they're equated with being as disabling as someone with no arms and legs. Yet, having said that, obviously this information hasn't filtered through. And again, if people just go on their what they see before them, and what they saw before them with me was a long-haired, as they would see it, hippie type, who in their mind would represent the average scrounger on the stage, which wasn't the case. I might add, I even did get jobs where I shouldn't have done. Went against medical advice. And one of the jobs is very working in an iron foundry, where it involved moving around molten metal. Very dangerous, and you've got to keep your wits about you. Physically demanding as well. How I did that, I don't know. My dear, this is it. Youth. Then I had the energy, and you'd make molds with sand, which is, you're shoveling the sand into these molds, and then you put them down on the ground, and then you make the top and put them down, and then about early on in the afternoon, a big hooter would go, and that's the metal ready to be poured. Literally, you just had this trolley thing, and you walked up, long thing admittedly, but even so, and your individual dispenser, that's what you call it, pourer, because it did actually pour, was filled up, and you couldn't really hang around. You had then to get back to your molds and start filling them. And then at the end of that, after leaving them for a few minutes, you then cracked the molds, and some of them invariably didn't set right, and you were paid on how many successful molds. And it's a team, there's two of you, and obviously there's pressure. Under pressure comes in. Under pressure, which it was, because you had this other person's salary to consider, because you were a team, and obviously there was some allowance you made because you knew. And so I don't think his money was penalised that much. It was just taken that I was the reason why the production number was lower, which it obviously was. I was learning the ropes. But good pay, though. Higher than just your average labour's rate. And that was obviously, why people did it, and I did it. And this is a time when I was living in a religious community, the Orthona Community, near Bradbourne-on-Sea, this is in Essex, near a nuclear power station. But that's where we ended up. I got married, this is way back in 1977. We first went to London and lived in a squat. And we freaked a few of the freaks out because we were a newly wedded couple, but were homeless, and put ourselves at the mercy of the freak community, who were all squatting themselves. So we went to this road where nearly all the houses were squatted, and just knocked on people's doors. And we got a positive response from someone who'd just broken up from a relationship and so was technically living on his own. And of course he had plenty of spare rooms, London houses and whatever. And we slept on the floor. We had I think sleeping bags, and that was it. But we were the poor of the poor. I mean, compared to these other squatters who'd been there and had got their benefits sorted out, and what a game we went through there. I don't want to go on negative, but we were very, we were lied to. Yeah. We went, we signed on, a lot of hassle. Mentioned we're married, but we've got nowhere to live. And we were sent to a place that was for men only. We didn't want to obviously be split up, but that's what happened. And we, that's not the way to treat people. I mean, we were okay. Certain people consider being very irresponsible, but that was the way we were. We just believed in putting ourselves at the hands of God, if you like, and that, God will provide. And we deliberately did that. We did all the official things we got to do. We signed on for the doll, although I'd done other things of the other nature before I was married. I literally took to heart the scripture, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And so deliberately signed off the doll and went to a foreign country, Spain, and just put myself at the mercy, wherever, whatever. I had nowhere to lay my head, had no friends, didn't know anybody, and was just putting myself at the mercy of whoever I might meet. And as it so happened, it worked out well. I met a man, a Spanish man who'd never been on the road and who wanted to do it. And so he needed someone to show him the ropes, or just someone to do it with, a companion. And he spoke fluid Spanish, and of course I didn't, so I needed an interpreter. And we had to beg, but it was not much. I think 10 pesetas you could get a loaf of bread. You got grapes, which you weren't really stealing, they were there right by the side of the road. You could buy sardines very cheaply. This is the poor man's peasant food. Of course, him being Spanish, we could go to places where perhaps a Western tourist couldn't go and probably wouldn't be given a good price, if you follow me. And so we lived very simply on bread, sardines, and just on our wits, really. Water, we could always get water, agua. And we ended up living in caves with gypsies, and the same analogy. They thought they were living it rough or whatever. We turn up and we had nothing. And they let us live in one of their caves that had been vacated. And it got electricity. The government had, and washing facilities. The government had sort of done that. So they agreed to stay there, and they upgraded the side. You got toilets, washing facilities, and like I say, electricity, which was cheap, or if not free. And we got taken in, or I got taken in, should we say, and I ended up staying with various different classes, if you like, of people, from the poor right up to some of the most wealthiest people there who'd got a kind of business and whether, and you could tell that because I went for dinner. Basically, I didn't stay there, but I just went for evening meal, and it's a chance for people to meet me and whatever. And they just took it in turns. It's all decided by the elders, right, he eats there tonight and that. After a while of this, it then escalated to, through the interpreter, I was told, well, it's probably time you got married. If you want to stay here, then you would really become part of the community. And a would-be wife was chosen. Again, this is all discussed amongst themselves, and such, and who should think. They could see I'd be a value of the community because I was English. And it is the universal language that people who live in certain countries, if they can speak English, they can get a job in the tourist industry, which for some of these sunny, nice countries is the main industry of that country. So I'd been very useful. I could have taught the children or adults, But it was a serious decision for me to make. And we told a white lie because Filiberto said, look, you've got to think about this. You don't want to upset these people because it's a great honour, And I met the woman, like I said, she's a beautiful, woman, but a young girl, but a woman, she was about 18 or whatever. So there was no problem there. I hadn't just been fobbed off with someone who perhaps they couldn't or wouldn't be able to get married, if you follow me. And of course, she'd have been a perfect wife because they're very close-knit. Again, that was interesting. They'd have a campfire every evening where people could all come and they could share their grievances, and they were sorted out openly in front of the community. And there was a bit of heated language went on and people, but it was resolved, like an instant court. A decision was made because it was the witnesses of other people, who's telling the truth here or whatever. And the decision was made, and that's it, it's accepted. But I said, no, I don't think this is right, and I'd probably best go back to England, because it was like an ultimatum. If I wanted to carry on, then this is what I'd have to done. As it so turned out, I got a telegram from Poste Restante, and it's cryptic, but I didn't want to believe what it said. It said, David, that was my brother, involved in fatal accident, come home. And I was just hoping that it didn't actually mean that he was dead, but the car he was driving, he used to have friends and drive about everywhere, and that someone else perhaps had got killed, but that would be enough to really, upset him. Very sensitive sort of man. And but eventually my friends persuaded me otherwise, but I still didn't accept that. And then I did get a letter actually back from my mother, who very, straight to the point, yes, I'm afraid your brother has taken his own life and is dead. Then I get another letter back from my father saying that I could go to such and such airport and that there were tickets had been brought, and as long as I got my passport, that was it. And they were there just for me to pick up, and as soon as I did, he would know of what flight I was on and would obviously meet me in England. I think it was Heathrow, yeah. And that's what happened. But it was one of these experiences in life that I think had a big change on me. He was very much into marijuana and treated it as a sacrament. And but eventually got hounded by the police and the drug squad, but more importantly, just the ordinary police. He became a very much a marked man. His registration number was known for his car. Bits obvious as well. It was all painted psychedelic minivan. So it stood out anyway. But of course, they had the number as well. And he was being stopped, searched. You know, imagine all the hassle. You're going out for an evening and you've got a few friends with you. Everyone's got to get out. Eventually, he used to say lost friends because, you know, if he's not a cool person to be with, you're likely to get busted. But he carried on, and he used to hide LSD in the engine. They never found it. You know, he was quite ingenious like that. But even so, they still had to go through the hassle of being searched. And when he did commit suicide, he'd just been put into a psychiatric hospital. Again, the friends that he had, a lot of them deserted him because of the stigma, and not many people came to visit him. Rightly or wrongly, he concluded that everybody was a load of shite. He got no real friends. And he told me, he implied he was going to kill himself. I didn't take it seriously, although I did to a degree, because I offered him the other option. I said, or an option. I said, well, look, if you really think that, why don't you just come with me? I'm going to Spain. And come with me, go on the road. And he didn't want to take that option. And so we've already concluded the story. I did go to Spain, and I was in Almeria at the time. I'd been to one of the little islands, Ibiza first. That's where I met Filiberto. Then we got the ferry across to the mainland and just started to work our way right down the south coast. I was stopped in time now, or that stopped me, because had I got to Algeciras, I'd have got this ferry across into Africa, and that'd have been me. You know, well, I probably wouldn't be here to tell the story, but it happened, and I tried to hitch back very stupidly, because I didn't realise once it got towards inland, so away from the south coast, it was cold. And I wouldn't have survived that journey. But I had an accident just outside of Cordoba. The car was in, just literally flipped over on a bend, and it's a mountainous road. Again, perfect synchronicity in the sense the next car that came along had a doctor in it. And so the car was left, and I got a cut on my eyebrow. Might not be the right one. Right on the eyebrows. Again, it's concealed. And he took me back to his own, well, us back to his home surgery, and got excellent treatment, you know, antibiotics and things, and a butterfly clip or stitch was put in. And then we had to part, me and the other guy, because he had to go somewhere, and he could have just hired a car. He was obviously fairly wealthy, but they didn't just leave like that. You know, I said, well, where can you go? I said, well, I've got friends in Almeria. So I ended up getting the coach fare and returning to Almeria. And that's when, well, that couple of days of that, then did get the flight back, you know. You know, she explained to the people there, and they were all right. But just we then, well, they were told the truth. That's it. I'm afraid my brother's died. I've got to go back to England. And so, like I say, I got the flight back. My father was in an immense state of shock, and just very grateful to see me, because he could have, in a sense, lost both his sons. I could have just gone off and that would have been me, for years probably, had I got to Africa. So he's very glad that I'd come home, but I couldn't cope with it. I felt like a fish out of water. People kept coming up to me and saying, "Oh, sorry to hear about your brother, man. It's too much." I dropped right out of the scene. I stopped turning on, stopped smoking. And because everybody reminded me of my brother and that situation, just dropped right out, which I've done many times before. Probably a Buddhist in a previous life, who knows? But yeah, quite common for me to just spend years without any real connection to any social scene. I often see myself also as a bit of a shaman, because shaman apparently don't live in with the community. They generally have their own little space, and that people would come and visit them and get healing or prayer or whatever, but they generally didn't part of the active community, which is a bit of conflict I've had over the years with the Findorn Foundation, because that isn't my path. And although there's a lot of pressure, and that there comes a point again where they can't really accept you because you won't become part of them. And the natural progression would have been to just join the community, although I did live there a few times, but it never worked out. I had a caravan on the site. I've worked in the Cluny Hill College. But no, it wasn't to be. And I shared about that in another video, that for me, the pathway is to stay open, be a servant, and open to serve wherever you might be needed. And sometimes you will, which I have over the years, just get an urge to go somewhere. Thailand's been a recent place. I've been to Mexico, I went there. But Thailand seems to be one of my favorite destinations. Circumstances again stopped me from settling there, although I did get a year's visa sorted. And that took a bit of hassle. You go and see the British consulate. Had to demonstrate that I've got enough money coming in. At the time I had an inheritance, so fulfilled that obligation. I just got a typed letter, but with all the official consulate stamp. Most people there don't do that. It's a nonsense, the corruption. You can just go in and they slip the various police officers or customs officers that deal with this, and they get a rubber stamped visa. But this is the genuine thing, and I got a year's visa, which could have then led on to me eventually becoming a citizen, especially if I got married, which was one of the intentions as well. But I had this little fire in my home. And it's just prior to me going back to Thailand. And there was some herbal material. It's actually my own Shamans mix that I'd made. So I'd grown some marijuana right by the side of my bed in one of these quite high-tech grow boxes, but it's all computer controlled, and I was using water hydroponics technique. So you just change the water every now and then and put more liquid plant food in it. The lights were controlled by a timer. And so you eventually artificially stimulated that winter was coming on because the length of sunlight was reduced, all done automatically. And so you'd have a crop every month. And they're only about 2 foot high, but you could buy special plants that had been developed to grow, inside a box, and produce plenty of good quality bud, but were only about, like I say, 2 foot high. And they had a life cycle of about a month, 6 weeks. And that's quite an art. It's quite interesting. You buy the seed, you germinate the seed first. It was white rhino. Yeah. Very good. And anyway, I only grew one harvest, hung it up in my bedroom, and when it had dried, just stripped the leaves down, then put it all through a coffee grinder. This is the distribution, you'll realise in a minute, so it's a powder, but then mixed it with Salvia divorum, which is about 85% of this big mix, and I had a big bowl, massive big bowl, sat on my bed with it, and some SanPedro cactus powder, which was sold from South America, perfectly legal, as incense. So it was a nice red powder, and that was mixed in, and a very small percentage, maybe not even 3% of this total, like I say, Shamans mix, was actually marijuana. And it was all mixed by hand, manchas were set over it, and a lot of love was being pumped into it. A lot of love was being pumped into the marijuana. It grew right by my bed, so our auras clashed. And if you accept that plants have a Davic counterpart and are obviously living entities, there was a strong connection made there. A lot of this sort of stuff was demonstrated at Vindon, how we love the plants and that they respond. And these obviously did. It was, well, some of the best marijuana come sacrament I'd ever come across, because of course it is very fresh. A lot of black market stuff isn't fresh. And it is grown with love, and it is blended with other sacramental herbs, hand blended, if you follow me as well, like I say, quite a ritual. I think I use Om Mani Padme Hum. So it's blessed, then put into kilner jars to keep fresh, airtight jars, and stored up in my loft, which was dark. The light wasn't on obviously all the time, but I had a fire, and the fire was caused from an altar which I'd set up, and I'd got proper charcoal incense burner tablets, actually what they use in the Roman Catholic Church comes to mind. They have like a visa that they swing. All the incense was pure, just plant material, frankincense, myrrh, this sort of thing, not sticks, just the crystals or the gum, if it's a gum. And you could buy that online. I had a big stash, obviously because it keeps perfectly. And so I had the money then and I invested in it. And there must have been it's a freak accident. I stopped to go out. I get up early in the morning and then go and have me breakfast down at the local supermarket. And that was my ritual and how I started my day. So a couple of hours of prayer, this little fleeing about, a fly or whatever. And the only explanation is that the charcoal it's left glowing, but it should have been on the end of its life, and it's in a proper metal container. Obviously couldn't have got knocked over, but didn't it? Must have spit, which sometimes happens with the charcoal, very rarely, but it's generally good quality charcoal that doesn't do that. And it wasn't a massive fire, it was more of a smouldering fire. But the incense really purified the whole atmosphere, because it's all in front of the altar. So it was technically still being offered up, but it was rich black smoke. And when I came home from the supermarket, it was only about an hour and a bit, if that. The road had been closed off. Fire brigade were there, the police were there. All people had been told to get out of their house. Rumours were there was a lot of Kayla gas bottles in there, which there wasn't. Their concern was that I wasn't in the building, but they discovered that. Like I say, it's an upstairs loft, but the actual fire itself wasn't that severe. There was no structural damage. The carpet was ruined and there's all this smut, whatever. But the actual wooden partition between myself and my neighbour, they'd ripped off a bit of the board to check, and it's all perfectly okay. But someone had technically illegally searched the property, i.e. a fireman, had opened one of my kilner jars with my Shamans mixing, and yes, it did have a oomph of a smell, but it didn't smell like marijuana. Like I say, there's only about 3% of marijuana in there. But anyway, on the strength of this fireman's illegal search, the police were called in, and they again technically, to make it legal, had to get a search warrant. So what was, I came home and there's all these people and that, and then eventually I sort of said, well, can I go in, please? This is my home. And of course, some of the neighbours thought, oh yes, he lives there, yeah. And then they took me aside and said, look, we suspect you've got marijuana in there, and we found such and such and such and such, and we're not going to let you back in. I said, it's ridiculous, what do you mean? I said, I want to get in and check how my house is. Of course, they wouldn't let me do that, because technically I could dispose of the evidence, because I haven't got a search warrant, so they weren't officially allowed to. They said, but look, if you let us in there without a warrant, and we can take away this substance and have it analysed, we'll let you back in. Naughty, naughty. Because like I say, it's similar to the alcohol prohibition times. When people used to make illegal alcohol, a lot of it was, well, we would say something, Nat's Piz, not very strong. And if it was under a certain strength, it wasn't classed as alcohol, if you follow me. And that a lot of people would just let off. The barrels are destroyed, but that was it. Same analogy with marijuana. If you come across a stash of plant material, it's the only way you could describe it, but it is analysed and found to perhaps only have 2 or 3% marijuana in it, you've got the trouble of separating it, because it's all a powder. Like I say, it's all been passed through a coffee grinder. That's, I think, quite an elaborate process. So there's all the stuff blessed, mixed, right, by hand, so it's all blended in, and then all of it put through a coffee grounder. So at the end of the day, you had a powder. It would have been literally impossible, to produce a sample or quantity of what it was, and they'd have to say in that it's mainly salvia, which they could analyse and prove, but that is a perfectly legal plant. And also they would have detected the sand. Well, it was there. Oh, that's it. There are still some SanPedro drums, about £100 each, and still salvia, which you brought in big kilo bags, which is what obviously also the firemen saw and put one and one together and got free, not knowing what marijuana actually looked like, but to saw these plant leaves, which is nothing like marijuana. They're a round leaf, nothing like, the normal pronged leaf of marijuana. And as to the smell, it was a very pungent smell, but not a marijuana smell. So it was nonsense. There was illegalities. A long story short, though, I was told I needed to come back to England, even though I knew I was in Thailand, and that I need to go to court to get it cleared up. Now, I could have gone on and just been on the run. Well, I don't think there's any expedition orders between Thailand and this country, but also they'd have also discovered that eventually when they did get their act together and do the proper forensic tests, that the material wasn't considered illegal. But long story short, I came back, and 7 months later, no apology, no my legal South American herbs were all destroyed, or were they? And all I got back was some ornaments which they'd taken from my shrine. I had a bone knife, so it's all carved out of bone, if you follow me. There's a knife in it, like a Sikh thing. All my mobile phones are taken away. Nonsense. There's nothing on there because I wasn't a dealer. There's no phone numbers on there, nothing. You know what I mean? But the phones I had for I did get them back eventually. But like I say, 7 months after all this incident happened, I just get a little letter saying any stereotype letter, any bail restrictions have now be lifted, and that we're not proceeding with this case. But I'd lost the 7 months I could have had in Thailand, the time to sort ourselves out, find somewhere to live, suss out a means of me supplementing income, not making it, but at least supplementing it. There are many things you can do, and as people have done, you just work out a little niche, even if it's working underhand. In the sense, an Englishman, shall we say, has his little restaurant or something, loads of other patriots there, and they'd obviously give you a job, but it'd all be cash in hand. But even so, it supplements your income, and you're not just living off your pension, which technically I don't think you can do, but I'm yet to really properly look into that. You can if you got married. You then could even get Thai citizenship or joint citizenship. So the person you marry could have English citizenship, which is a bonus for them. And I'm sure I'd have no trouble. Well, I did. Or have, 2 girlfriends actually. So I've had no trouble finding a partner. And especially if they've got that as an added bonus, But it wasn't to be. And on that note, you've been on here an hour. I don't know if you're still there, Swami, but thanks for joining. I shall call it a day. Put in another appeal. Very keen to get hold of some Bosnian pyramid water. My intentions are to use it in a healing ministry where it be put under a pyramid, it will be blessed, and using a pendulum for diagnostic purposes if needed be, distribute healing to people that way, but more importantly, planetary healing. And I've been inspired to mix the, similar to what we're talking about the Shamans mix the Bosnian pyramid water sample with a larger sample of water, be put under a pyramid, blessed, and then that would be distributed. So it'd be a continuing cycle or production of very special pyramid charged water, and would be distributed and blessed to various other sources of water, Findorn River, which is already special and blessed anyway. That was involved in a healing miracle I performed, which I've talked about in another video. Water has been part of my training or pathway. I mean, I took the church, I was in the Jesus Fellowship Baptist Church, but we didn't use alcohol for the sacraments. We were taught we could use any liquid, and we used to mix Ribena up so it looked, as a red liquid, and that was our sacrament, and it was blessed and used as a sacrament. And the same analogy with me, not such a good thing now, since found that fizzy drinks aren't so good, but I went to visit this guy who I'd already ministered to and had terminated a bad psychotic episode that he was undergoing. But he'd done a runner from the local psychiatric hospital. So I'd phoned the police from the Kimberley Arms in Findorn. We walked out of the water. After I'd healed him, wasn't so much baptizing, but took the water in my hand and prayed out loud and said, when this water touches this person, may be released from everything that is bothering him. And it did. And he walked out perfectly calm. I phoned the police. He was escorted back to not Knoll, although there is a psychiatric hospital, that's another story. We would just call it Ward 4 Dr. Gray's, Elgin. Probably got another title now, but Ward 4, the psychiatric wing in Dr. Gray's Hospital, Elgin. And gave me money and insisted that I come and visit him, told me he'd be heavily sedated. He's been through this before. His father was a complete atheist, and whenever he started going on about Jesus or spiritual things of that nature, it was just a red light to a bull or a red flag to a bull, and his father would have him sectioned. Right. A lot of work. And I've done a video, actually a DVD, about this phenomena. Not about that actual incident, the same thing, that prayer should be introduced to psychiatric hospitals, and that people that are admitted undergoing, shall we say, a negative psychotic episode, are obviously in a state of paranoia, that the best way to respond to that, if they're open to it, is prayer. Not pump them up with nasty tranquilizers, drugs that completely, or literally knock them out. And in time, I suppose the theory is the experience will wear itself out, but it won't have been healed and dealt with, and it could return. And then to suppress artificially by giving them very powerful drugs, antipsychotics, which are very nasty for the body. Anyway, I got a grant and got 2,000 copies of this DVD. It's called 1 in 100. And I think I did 2, 100, take 2, all on the same theme, but just mainly me. One of them had another person like interviewing me. And I didn't know what he was going to ask me. And was very cryptic, well, how do you know it was God and all this? Again, someone perhaps is scared to admit themselves. And it wasn't trendy to believe in God then, and still obviously isn't for a lot of people. All this stuff that God is dead and, you're demonstrating to be very naive and stupid if you believe in God, when in fact the exact opposite is true. Your closed mind did if you don't believe in God. You've given up. You stopped seeking and you just accepted a wrong conclusion. And you become closed-hearted and closed-minded. But if you open your mind and ask, you'll get the evidence and the proofs that you need. It is now gone the magic figure of an hour. I again just reiterate, very keen to get hold of some Bosnian pyramid water. Obviously I pay costs. And I believe it costs €10 a bottle. I'm in Scotland, but of course you'll find all that out if you just make a contact either through Messenger. If you get to see this, because this is a public one, whatever, and you're not technically a friend, just send a friend request, but mention in your request a Bosnian pyramid water. Then obviously I'll be able to respond back to you. We can either have a video chat if you've got that facility or whatever, or email, I'll exchange my address and whatever, and also get the money to you that you require to cover your costs. So bye from now. Good morning.